November 18th. It's Friday, and as we dive into the weekend, we are tracking an epic lake effect event. Along the Great Lakes, it is just pumping heavy snow in some key locales. Nadine Powell's joining us, as well as Mark Robinson in Buffalo, New York. Now, yes, we're going to see impacts here on this side of the border, but, you know, the word Buffalo, the name Buffalo has been thrown around a lot this week because of what's going on. So without further ado, Mark.
Oh yeah, this is quite the event in Buffalo. You know, if you're sitting in Toronto, you know, looking around, going, you know, where's the snow? Well, you know, if you're going to Buffalo, this is where the snow is. And the one thing about Buffalo, it's sort of a spot that a lot of Canadians, a lot of people from Toronto have to go through to get, say, to Florida. We were just talking to a couple from Toronto trying to get down to Florida, and they basically are stuck here in Buffalo for the foreseeable future. We just don't know how long it's going to be until they can get everything plowed out. We do have a plow operator who is now stuck just over here. Take a look. That's the parking lot. He's been working away trying to keep just this parking lot free. And this is just one of 50 properties that he's doing, and he can only keep up. He's actually told me he can only keep up with this. He barely keep up with this one, let alone try and do all the other properties he's contracted to do. And out there, if you can't even see the road, but out there, the city plows are working, the state plows are working away to try and keep things clear out there. But that, I mean, if they're having this much trouble with this, imagine what it's like on the larger roads. And nobody is going anywhere, even if you want to. So if you're in Buffalo, get prepared to stay here, because you're going to be here for a while.
Hunkering down for sure. There's actually a travel ban in place for Buffalo as well as Erie County. So lots of people forced to really not get out there. But of course, you know, the plows want to get on top of it a little bit, but yeah, as you can see there, I can imagine they are stuck. Now, we do have watches and warnings here. This is for snow squalls around the Bruce Peninsula, shores of Georgian Bay and Lake Huron. We've got Lake Erie covered, and over towards Kingston as well, as we get you into the next 24 to 48 hours. So the radar has been showing, you know, some oscillating bands in and around Kingston, sort of on the fringe of it. There's Buffalo getting, you know, pummeled with the snow, as you can see Mark there. And then we've got, you know, sort of scattered snow here across southern Ontario at this point, which will just continue to keep going. So this is going to be very wind dependent, which is what lake effect snow really is all about. So, you know, the Bruce Peninsula, Owen Sound definitely stands out as a place that's going to be in it for a large part of the next few days. But then you get Niagara towards Hamilton along the QEW. And this is Saturday into your Saturday evening. Oscillating bands there. 401 corridor from Cobourg into Kingston. One moment you'll see nothing, and then the next, wham, a cloud of snow. And then here for Saturday, Parry Sound, for example, you know, Huntsville, yes, but then really it's Huntsville, Barrie, 400 corridor between Barrie up towards Parry Sound. I'm worried about Sunday morning with those squalls returning. Travel there, you know, it's a big major highway, lots of events happening this weekend. So that will be something to keep in mind if you're traveling in that vicinity. And then for, you know, Southern Ontario, Hamilton and Toronto, we're talking maybe a couple of centimeters of snowfall here. So it's certainly very location dependent. And Nadine, you're going to join us now to take a look at some of the radars and some of the stuff happening on social too.
Yeah, certainly so. Of course, typically we get into those northwest winds for us, where we get Lake Huron and Georgian Bay into the bulk of, you know, the snowfall or the snow squall events. But this time with those winds coming out of the southwest there, you can see a couple of those key zones. And the lake waters, it's all about a couple of key factors. The difference in temperature from the atmosphere to the temperature of the lake. And we're seeing warmer conditions for us on the lakes. And of course, we are cold in the atmosphere. And of course, that has been driving the lake effect squall bands that we have been seeing. And we've been talking to Mark throughout the morning for us. And we can see Mark out there in the thick of it. That is quite a bit of snowfall already, Mark. And I was looking at some of the numbers where we had between 9 and 12 inches of snow already in the region. And Mark, of course, you got to, I guess, experience thundersnow.
Yeah, I absolutely got to experience some serious thundersnow. I have never seen such an electrically active storm or an electrically active snow band like this one. I mean, I could probably count on one hand the number of times I've seen lightning in snow before this event. And after last night, I mean, I saw 10 to 15 bolts, but I'm here with Jeremy. Jeremy, you got to tell me a little bit about what are you doing here and what do you think?
Well, we're here for work. We have an addition on a cheese plant that's local here, but we ain't going anywhere today, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, have you ever experienced anything quite like this? You're from Minnesota. Yeah. And what's this? This has got to be a bit of a shock to the system.
But yeah, this is an exceptional amount of snowfall. I mean, you look out and, this is another day, but it's going to keep going, and that's what we know. We're not going anywhere. So.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, you can take a close up on Jeremy's beard here. You can actually see it beginning to freeze.
I'm not real dressed for that. It just came down for breakfast.
Go in, go grab breakfast.
Right,
yes, thanks. Yeah, so this is the kind of situation we got. We're going to be stuck here for a while. Anybody who's trying to move through Buffalo, rethink your plans, try another way around, because keep in mind this is very geographically very, very tight. So you're not, if you go a little bit north, you're not going to be seeing snow. A little bit south, you're not going to be seeing snow. But in the center, this is what you're seeing.
Oh my goodness, it's really powerful to see Mark there. And you know what, it looks similar to this in areas here on this side of the border. I'm thinking Bracebridge, I'm thinking Perry Sound. That will be ongoing through the weekend. Now Buffalo's projections are about 50 to 75 centimeters. We put plus in there because it could even get up to 120 centimeters. And that's like 4 feet of snow. I mean, that would bury me. I'm only like 5'3" or 5'2", probably 5'3" on a good day. So taking a look here, in the blues and purples, that's where we're going to see 30, maybe 60 centimeters of snowfall. Coburg towards Kingston, another key zone. Niagara as well. So this is where the lake effect bands are setting up for us. Let's watch this through Friday evening. We start to see this shift a little bit more north. So that southwest flow pulls into Grimsby now, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls. So for your Saturday, I'd watch out for this. Could even reach into Hamilton at times. So just keep that in mind. Don't be caught off guard. We're warning you now for it. Then we get you into the 401 around Kingston this morning. We've seen, some bursts of flurries already. That's just the appetizer, because into Saturday and really settling into Saturday evening, we're watching out for Bowmanville, even Coburg, Belleville, Prince Edward County, so popular for people to head out to on weekends. That will also see really into Sunday morning. I think some travel headaches along the 401. We've seen pile ups there happen because of lake effect bands. So let's hope that people are heeding the advice, just maybe stay off the roads or stay slow. Through Saturday here, we're also seeing really Perry Sound, Owen Sound towards Tobermory. You've got Highway 28 around Owen Sound. That'll be targeted. 401 around Perry Sound. If you're wondering what's happening around Barrie, we'll say Barrie and Collingwood, it's more so going to be Sunday as we get into a northwest flow that you're going to be back into the tricky travel. And what's so wild to think about this event is that while some areas so close of a drive to, say, Toronto are getting up to 4 feet of snow, you've got Toronto with possibly a couple of centimeters on Sunday coming in here. It'll be nice for the Santa Claus parade, but Oakville, Milton, until you get into like Orangeville and Waterloo, we're not talking about a heavy amount there either, but that's more close up, say 5 centimeters of snow. So Nadine, this is just one of those classic of situations setting up, but also a historic one because of how much is reaching those areas that are prone to the lake effect.
Yes, definitely so, Nicole. And we've been talking throughout the last little while about a couple of the ingredients in play, and it's not just 1 or 2 areas that are seeing these squalls. Of course, we've been talking about the Buffalo region, but if we just zoom in here across southern Ontario, just around the southern Georgian Bay region. Briefly, Nicole mentioned what Barrie can expect as we look toward the weekend, but happening now, you can see there for us just around Highway 21, so heading up from Kincardine up toward Port Elgin and across toward the Owen Sound region and around the Bruce Peninsula. That's where we're seeing that heavier band of snowfall there right now. And if we take this across the Midland region And for us, that band extends from the Bruce Peninsula across the Midlands. So north of Barrie, so essentially Aurelia, heading up toward Bracebridge and Midland, you're getting into that heavier band of snow right now. And then we take it back down to, say, Highway 8, say north of London toward Kitchener-Waterloo. We've got some light snow moving through that region right now. And while Nicole was mentioning, of course, the GTA, the Toronto area, not really expected to be significantly impacted by this. One of the biggest spots, certainly where Mark is in the Buffalo region, they are certainly seeing the brunt of this. And Mark, you are almost up to your knees now, it looks like, or up to your knees.
Yeah, we actually moved around the side of the hotel. You'll notice that you're not seeing the wind here, so the snow is actually able to deposit quite easily. But I'm going to take a walk over. This is a car. There's a car here, but just to give you an idea how deep this snow is, like that is beyond my knees. That is up to my waist. So that's the kind of snow that we're talking about here. Just absolutely incredible. Like this car's not moving for anytime soon because it's just buried right in here. I think I don't even know where the pavement is. I think it might be over there. And so I don't even know how the car got here last night. Did it come in this way? It's just unbelievable. This car right here is what you're going to see eventually out the front where the parking lot is. And they've been trying to keep it clear. Talking to the plow operator, his name's Nick, and he was telling me he's got 50 other properties to deal with. And he said this is happening so fast. There's so much snow coming down. He can't keep up to this one. He just can't. He's just trying to plow this small area out, and he can't keep up. And he said he's getting calls from the other properties saying, "You got to come here." And he's like, I can't even get out right now. He can't even get out and get back onto the road to get going. And he is a plow operator. That is the kind of snow that we're talking with this system. And it's just going to keep coming. Eventually, the squall will begin to lift north, and that's going to start to affect things like the Peace Bridge and over into Fort Erie. So if you are in those areas, especially as we get into Saturday, you might want to just be prepared that you're going to see some potentially significant snow with this band as it begins to lift north into Canada.
You're right. And Mark, on a fun note, I'm wondering why you don't have the goggles on yet.
Well, you know what? Because right here I don't need them yet, but when I stand out front, I'm going to stand out in the wind, and then I'm going to put them on, but I'm going to have everything on, or you will not be able to hear me because I'm going to get a mouthful of snow just turning into the wind. It's amazing.
Oh, wow. I mean, historic. I mean, we keep saying that word, epic, historic, whatever you want to say. You can't even see anything behind Mark. And this is, what we get with lake effect snow. It's clear in some regions, and then all of a sudden, when you get that band, wham, you can't see anything. And, in these shaded areas, this is Environment Canada's snow squall watches and warnings for us here to heed as we head into the next few days. And it's all going to be wind dependent. So right now, that strong southwest wind is bringing Buffalo the snow that we're seeing with Mark Robinson, but it's going to start to shift north as we head into Saturday. And then you even have possibly Hamilton, Grimsby, St. Catharines in the line of fire for some whiteout conditions, reduced visibility. Now the 401 corridor between Cobourg and Kingston will see oscillating bands mainly through Saturday, but Saturday evening into Sunday morning, I'd be most concerned about that. And then we do have this zone, which has been ongoing. On Twitter, Tyler just asked me, how long is this going to last for Owen Sound? Well, Owen Sound is actually one of those areas right here that's going to be in a band through a lot of this event. I mean, I think one of the key areas that's going to get the most snow, Wyerton, Owen Sound in Ontario, you could be hit with some of the most impressive totals. Barrie, you're going to get back into it through Sunday, so keep this in mind when we talk about lake effect snow. It's the burst of heavy snow and strong winds. It quickly reduces that visibility, and we have seen this time and time again with these setups. It causes a chain reaction of accidents on major highways, on those major routes. I mean, it's just heartbreaking to see. So Nadine, fingers crossed, hoping something like this doesn't happen again. Happy to hear that, for Buffalo, there is a travel ban in place. So people just can't get on the roads. They're not allowed.
Yeah, and I mean, because this is a dangerous situation for not only the folks who might attempt to be out on the roads, but also for emergency responders as well. Because in case of accidents, you need fire, you need ambulance, and that's also putting them at risk. So certainly the best case scenario is to stay off the roads if you can't, if you don't have to be out. We've been talking about some of the setup for lake effect, and a couple of the main ingredients for us: the temperature difference between the lake and the air, the wind direction and alignment. And something we also talk about as well is the fetch. The fetch is essentially that distance over the water, that body of water that it has to travel. And you see there, that is quite a long distance coming off of Lake Erie. Lake Erie is about 388 kilometers in length. And just take a look at this band here, especially in the darker blues where we have the heaviest intensity of the snowfall. And that extends over 300 kilometers, so almost 400 kilometers from end to end with that band. And of course, the Buffalo region smack bang in the middle of it. And also smack bang in the middle of that snowfall is our storm hunter, Mark Robinson. Mark, you love chasing thunderstorms. This time it's snow, and lucky for you, you got, I guess, both.
Whoa! Listen, listen. There you go. We just got thundersnow. Can't believe it. We've had some of the this is one of the most electrically active squalls I've ever seen. We had lots and lots of lightning last night. We're still getting. I cannot believe we actually got the. Sorry, that's very cool because thundersnow is extremely rare, and this one has just been just constantly producing lightning. Last night there was multiple very close hits to the hotel here. So when we talk about the dangers in these snow squalls like this, we often talk about visibility. We talk about getting stuck, just the amount of snow falling. You're talking about potential hypothermia from just being cold with the wind chill. We don't often talk about the fact that you have to be wary of a lightning. Most of the time they're cloud to cloud lightning, but once in a while, and this did happen late last night, it was cloud to ground strikes. That's very unusual, extremely unusual for this one, but that just gives you an idea how powerful this squall is, how much snow is just coming off of the lakes, how much moisture is being pumped into this system. For me, this has been one of the most intense snow squall events I think I've ever been through, and we're nowhere close to this being done and over with.
I mean, just hearing it, watching it, I mean, I have no complaints. I woke up at 3:15 in the morning. I cannot complain about anything being here, warm and cozy in the studio. I mean, that is just wild. But I know Mark's having fun in it, tracking this really, again, I keep saying it, historic event. It's so cliche, but it's exactly what's going on. Watch this map for the reds and the pinks. That's where we're going to see the most tricky travel over the next few days. If you're in the yellow, which includes Toronto, this is not a huge impact event for you. This is where it lies. It lies with those westerly winds and the southwest flow through today. Midland to Parry Sound along for the 400. You've got Highway 28 around Owen Sound, which will continue to be an ongoing issue. And then on Sunday, we are going to see Barrie start to get back into those snow squalls. So that's where we're going to be concerned about the 400, which, that 400 stretch near Barrie is highly traveled, especially on a Sunday when you've got the Santa Claus parade happening in Toronto. It's something to keep in mind. And then, I want to, point out here, Kingston, Brockville, Belleville, along the 401, we've got a setup here that is going to persist really Saturday late day into our Sunday morning. So that will be some slick roads in that vicinity. The squall that's occurring over Buffalo is going to meander and pull north as we head into the weekend. So for Saturday, Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, even up towards Hamilton on the fringe of seeing this snow band enter your area. So on the high end, 50 to 75 centimeters plus, that is Buffalo, and plus, I stress plus. We've got 30 to 60 centimeters across most of, cottage country here being hit pretty hard. A good helping there towards Kingston. And I have to stress here again that if you're in Toronto thinking, oh my God, what is this snow? Is it hitting us? Toronto, Brampton, Milton, I mean, we got a couple of centimeters coming your way through Sunday. So, coating the grass, hitting the roads, maybe making it a bit slushy. You get a little bit higher amounts as you extend into Orangeville. Fergus, for example, we could be looking at 5 to possibly 10 centimeters on the high end. So look at the darker blues for some higher amounts. This is on Sunday, so maybe you could sit it out and check in with the forecast and just watch us with a cup of coffee, Nadine, because it's that type of weekend that we have setting up. It's time to get cozy. You could shop, but we can also online shop too, right? That's what we do.
Yeah, definitely. So, Nicole, want everyone to stay safe. But this has been quite an exciting event for us. And Mark has been talking about that thunder snow. So I want to just, before we go to the radar, just give a bit of an explanation about that thunder snow. Now, typically we get thunderstorms in the summer when we have the heat giving us all of that energy. Now, we have that energy in place. We can get that sometimes with a relative temperature difference, which is what we're seeing in this case, or where we get rapid uplift and building of the cloud. So typically with thunderstorms, Mark talked about the positive and negative lightning strikes from the top of the cloud. So this is a general situation here where you have charge separation, where you have the negative charges to the base of the cloud, positive charges toward the top of the cloud, and you've got positive charges as well on the ground, tall objects. So you get the negative and positive from the base of the cloud to the ground, and that's where we see actually the lightning strike, which actually occurs from ground leading up to the base of the clouds. That's what we call the step leader initially, and then we get the lightning strike. But in a case like this that Mark was probably referring to there, where we have the positive charges, that's coming from the top of the cloud and reaching down to a negative charge on the ground. And these can be more dangerous because you really need a very strong buildup of charges at the top of the cloud to be able to reach the ground. So Mark, we've been talking about the thunder snow and the lightning, and you're getting all of that. So you are in your happy place.
Yeah, yeah, it is coming to my happy place, but it's also going to be the place I'm going to be for a while because nobody is going anywhere. I'm going to just take you over to our plow operator who hasn't moved for a little while. He's been trying to get out of that one spot, and this is the plow operator. I mean, you can only imagine, out on the roads themselves, they're just as bad. The state and city, snow removal, they're working away trying to keep everything open. I haven't had a chance to check, but we're likely still under a travel ban in Erie County. They don't want anybody on the road because they don't want people getting stuck. You are not going to be able to get through this kind of thing. Well, there goes a plow sort of on the road there. So that sort of does tell me that those roads actually likely are at least clear enough you can get a large vehicle like one of those dump trucks through. I'm not sure that I would want to try and do that with any smaller car. Even this pickup truck right here, I may have to go over and give our plow guy a little bit of a hand to try and get out. I put both of my snow shovels into the Weather Network car just in case of this kind of event, this kind of problem, just to try and help either myself or whoever out. If you are thinking of driving through Buffalo, maybe you're going down to Florida, I'm going to suggest maybe you wait a couple of days until they can get this all cleared out. It's not a very wide band of snow, but it's extraordinarily significant.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mark. You stay safe out there. We'll check in with you in just a bit again, but let's take you back to the radar. So we're seeing there on the ground how much snow we have in place. Let's just take you to the radar, and you can zoom in here right through the Buffalo region for us, where we see that band that extends all the way from the lake. So we have some heavier bursts right here in and around the region. Let's take you back out, and you can see this extends all the way across the lakes. The fetch of Lake Erie is just about 388 kilometers. And as you can see, this band extends well over 300, nearly 400 kilometers. And when we talk about the long fetch, we need this to be able to absorb that moisture coming off of the lakes where the temperatures are relatively warmer compared to the temperature of the atmosphere just aloft as it blows over those lakes. And you can see there, also looking at some troublesome spots for us across just the bottom end of Prince Edward County there. And then as we head up around the north end for us around Lake Huron, you can see there extending from Kincardine, that snowfall is coming down at quite a good rate for us right now. That takes us up the 21, and then we head across the 26 toward the Owen Sound region. And from around Midland to the top end of, well, not the top end rather, but north of the Aurelia region, heading across Highway 11 and Highway 400. Those are some of the troublesome spots where we are seeing right now. And Nicole, you know, with that wind coming off of the lakes this time, the eastern sides of the lakes will see the brunt of it this weekend.
You're right, Nadine. So, you know, Environment Canada has issued lots of watches and warnings, some travel advisories as well. So as you look at the map, you know, check out your region. If you're colored in at all, this will be tricky travel at times right through till Sunday. How is a lake effect like this setting up and it being so historic? We've got Kevin explaining.
The Great Lakes are no stranger to the lake effect machine. And this weekend is going to be a good one. But why is it so special? Well, we have 3 ingredients we have to look at and how well they are structured. So let's look at them each individually, starting with that temperature. We have to look at the temperature of the water at about 2 kilometers above the surface. If there's more than a 13-degree difference, then we're all systems go for that convection. Now, the wind, that's a tougher ingredient to get. We have to look at different levels. So first, our surface wind is going to be coming from the southwest. Now the middle of the squall, about 2 kilometers up, it's much the same direction, so that's good. Then the top of the squall gets cut off about 3 kilometers. It's a little different, but they're close enough together that these squalls will be well structured, so that's another positive. Our third ingredient, probably the toughest to get, is having a prolonged straight wind direction over the lakes. Now our lake fetch, it's pretty impressive with the southwest flow through Saginaw to Georgian Bay, 350 kilometers, the whole stretch of Lake Erie, and then Lake Ontario, you get a head start because of Lake Erie. So that is going to be almost a perfect case scenario for impacts of these squalls across southern Ontario.
A great explanation there about, you know, lake effect setups, and this one in particular. Here again are the watches and warnings that we have in place. Parry Sound to Barrie, you've got Niagara Falls, note Kingston as well as we get you through the weekend. So watch these bands. It's the oscillating winds that are going to put some zones in no snow and then some areas in a wall of snow through the weekend. So we get into Saturday, and this is through the end of the day. Notice along the QEW here, you've got Grimsby, St. Catharines, over to even Dunnville in the line of fire to see this band. Even Hamilton can be on the fringe of the band reaching the vicinity. Then we get to the 401 corridor between Cobourg and to Belleville, Prince Edward County. You've got Kingston, you know, popular travel route for people on the weekends. And this will be impacts, you know, through Saturday, but I'm more so worried about Saturday evening into Sunday. And we've seen along that stretch pile-ups because of lake effect snow. Just, you know, awful situations there. People stuck on the highway because of it. And then we look at this, you know, very, you know, typical snow belt region, as we say, topping up the ski hills. You've got the Bruce Peninsula. You've got Parry Sound, the 400 stretch there. There's definitely going to be impacted around Owen Sound and Wyerton. We're going to see possibly some of our highest snowfall totals on this side of the border because the band is just staying there, going up and down, but it's really locked in that zone for a lot of the weekend. Projections here, interesting because you've got some really high zones, but then for Toronto downtown, and as even as you go to Oakville, Nadine, up towards Milton, even Orangeville, a few centimeters for Toronto, but, you know, outskirts, maybe up to 5 centimeters, Nadine, but quite a contrast just even driving towards Barrie. Yeah,
certainly so, because, of course, the ingredients are better aligned through those areas, seeing the heaviest of the snowfall, and the greater Toronto area, the Toronto area, just really on the fringes of those flurries. As we take you back to the radar, just want to show some of the areas outside of Toronto that's picking up on some light snowfall right now. We'll head you on over to, say, Stratford, toward the 401 from London toward the Woodstock region, Kitchener-Waterloo toward Milton, getting into a bit of that light snowfall right now. But certainly, like Nicole was talking about, the heaviest of the bands across southern Ontario up toward the Bruce Peninsula and around the southern Georgian Bay region. Prince Edward County just on the fringes of that there as well. But certainly the main focus has been that main band. We can see that extends all the way across Lake Erie, coming up into the Buffalo region. As a matter of fact, latest snowfall totals for the Buffalo Airport mark as of around just before 7 o'clock, 30 centimeters of snow already.
Yeah, that does not surprise me whatsoever, Nadine. But I want you to guess whose car this is, and I'm going to see if I can clear it off a little bit, and you will see that it is the Weather Network car. Yeah, that is how much snow. Like, just take a look at how much snow is on top of the car. Getting out of here is going to be interesting. Now, I did bring a couple of shovels to make sure that I can at least dig ourselves out when this eventually begins to halt. But this one little story of this one car is being repeated probably thousands of times all across Buffalo right now as this squall locks into place and begins to really dump a lot of snow. If you're on the edges of the squall, you're going to have a lot of strong winds. That means that a lot of this snow is going to get blown into drifts, which is going to make things even worse. But one of the other things I want to show you is take a look at this. I can make a snowball out of this, and I'm going to throw it right at my camera guy, and I'm going to miss. That's all right. This is heavy, wet snow, so it's going to be very difficult to move. It's going to take a lot of energy to try and move this kind of snow. If you're in the center of it, I'm going to just suggest you stay inside and wait this one out. There's really no way, or there's almost nowhere to go if you want to go out anywhere. Now, if you're north or south of the squall, you might be asking, where's the snow? Well, it's right here. And if you are, from Toronto, you're heading maybe down to Florida along the East Coast, you have to go through Buffalo. I'm going to suggest probably take the I-75 through Detroit because this is something you would be trying to get through, and it's just not a good idea to be traveling anywhere in and around Buffalo today.
Yeah, travel ban in place there as well as for Erie County. Mark, I have to ask, you've been measuring the snow. How much have you measured on the ground, and how much would be on that car?
Well, you know what? I've got my actual little measuring stick right here, and then we're going to do it because we're in the States. We're going to do it in imperial units, and on the car right now we have 1 foot of snow. That's 12 inches there. But in this little drift right here, we're going to go down to 20 inches. So we're talking just huge amounts of snow, and it's going to continue. And in those drifts, just keep in mind that in the drifts you're going to have even more than that. So we're talking feet, meters of snow falling in Buffalo.
Exactly. And, on the high end, they could be looking at possibly 4 feet of snow. I mean, it's going to take so long to take care of that. People are going to definitely be, stuck in certain places because of this. We also are seeing on this side of the border those squalls impacting our major routes. There's the Buffalo set up in that dark blue zone. Kingston has kind of seen some bursts of flurries in that vicinity already this morning. Watch what happens through Saturday. We'll continue to see the southwest flow impact to the Bruce Peninsula as well as Perry Sound. But now you've got the QEW, that stretch between St. Catharines, Hamilton, down towards Niagara Falls. I would say maybe avoid it because that could be some travel headaches there, maybe even some road closures with this. And then the 401 stretch, Cobourg over towards Kingston. These are very popular routes, especially as we look to this weekend. Now on Sunday, while it eases in Niagara and eases here around Kingston by the mid-morning, we've got this northwest flow setting up. So now back into it around Barrie, for example, we will see the squalls bringing the 401, potentially some whiteouts at times. So I would be concerned about travel. You've got the Santa Claus parade happening on Sunday in Toronto. And speaking of Toronto, I have to address this. How much is the city getting? How much are you getting in Brampton or even Pickering? well, you're in that light blue zone. I mean, this could be a couple of centimeters at best. Get into some more darker blues like Fergus, and you'll be looking at more so 5 centimeters. Even around Cambridge, couple more centimeters, but not a huge impact event until you get closer to the lakes. But when you are driving in those lake effect bands, it's the bursts of heavy snow and the strong winds, which quickly reduces visibility, and it can trigger chain reaction accidents. And it has triggered chain reaction accidents, Nadine. We have seen videos of this happening on major highways like the 401 towards Kingston, for example. People stuck on the highway for not just hours, but days.
Yeah, and this is really what we want to avoid happening, why we have been, encouraging folks to, avoid travel if they don't have to. You can see we're talking about some of the lake temperatures here, some of the ingredients for squalls, and the temperature of the lower lakes region and the central ones as well is just around, say, between 10 and 14 degrees. So when you pair that with sub-zero temperatures in the atmosphere and that long fetch coming off the lakes, that enables the atmosphere to grab that moisture and deposit it on the lakes as well. So let's just take you into the radar right now. You can see we have some of those more potent bands coming off of the top end of Lake Huron around southern Georgian Bay region, just clipping by Prince Edward County, heading toward Highway 81 stateside. And of course, we have the main one, which extends all the way across Lake Erie. That is our main band. And just zooming in there in the Buffalo region, Hamburg, just south of Buffalo, has already picked up 50 centimeters of snowfall. This has been ongoing since the overnight, and it's not done yet. Mark, you are out in the thick of it. It's almost a wall of white where you are, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a wall of white, and it's beginning to really paralyze the areas south of Buffalo. Now, the interesting thing about this, Nadine, if you're in downtown Buffalo, you're actually not getting that much snow. But if you're just south in Lackawanna, where I am, I mean, this is what you're seeing. The plow driver behind us, he's actually going to winch himself out. He's got it attached over here to a concrete base. And that is the only way he's going to be able to get out of the snow. He tried, the back and forth thing to try and get himself out, but he wasn't able to. I was talking to a couple of guys, Jeremy, actually earlier, and he was just telling me that they're sort of stuck in the hotel for a little while, but they've got projects they've got to do just up the road here. They're doing some renovations or work on one of the factories in the area, and as much as he's enjoying the day off, he's the project's already behind a little bit, and this is going to cause them to be even more behind. So it is kind of amazing to see, but it is beginning to affect people's lives, people's jobs, businesses. This is an impressive squall, and unfortunately, it's not going to stop anytime soon. We're going to see quite a few more centimeters of snow. And if we do it in the American Imperial units, we're going to see quite a few more feet of snow as the squall just locks into place over that southern shore of Lake Erie. Oh, that's cold. Oh.
All right, thanks so much, Mark. I mean, it's wild to see what you're seeing right now, but even more wild was yesterday evening. Mark was in Buffalo, and he captured this.
This is the dead center of the squall. It's beginning to push south. Looks like it's going to be right along the south side of Erie. Normally in the center of these, there isn't much wind. This is a little bit different. Look at the wind. Like even in the center of the squall, I was expecting to come out here and see almost no wind, lots of snow falling, but I'm getting both like snow falling and the wind. So this is like almost blizzard. I did it. There you go. That is thundersnow. This is the most electrically active snow squall I've ever seen, bar none. Amazing. Just amazing.
And the thundersnow didn't stop last night. We've seen it this morning as well, just indicative of the convective nature of these squalls. You know, to get the lake effect snow, you need the warm Great Lakes, which we have this time of year, the relatively warm Great Lakes, and then that cool air coming off of it. And that southwest wind is what's hammering Buffalo with all the snow. Note anything here colored in mustard blue or even this light sort of purple color. This is where we have snow squall watches and warnings in place in Ontario, and it will be ongoing through the weekend. Take a look at these numbers, up to possibly 40 centimeters in parts of eastern Ontario. Buffalo's getting possibly up to 4 feet, and then we've got areas around cottage country, 30 to 60 centimeters, maybe 70 for some. I want to bring it back to Toronto here for a second, because if you're watching thinking, oh my goodness, what are we doing in Toronto? The Santa Claus parade is happening on Sunday. We're going to be buried in snow. Well, not so much. Maybe a couple of centimeters for the city through Sunday. Same thing around Pickering, Newmarket. If you're in that light blue, it's a couple of centimeters. I mean, towards Fergus, Orangeville, a few more centimeters than that. You know, maybe 5 centimeters, maybe 10 into Mount Forest, for example, but nothing near what we're going to get around Niagara Falls, for example, even St. Catharines. So the QEW here, let's avoid it if you're in Grimsby, for example. Maybe hunker down, stay home, or go towards Oakville. That's a suggestion. Then we take a look at your Friday afternoon here into Saturday along the 401. Think Cobourg, Belleville, Prince Edward County, Kingston. This is where meandering bands are going to bring reduced visibility as well. And then we'll take you to this zone. We call it, you know, traditional snowbelt area, cottage country, whatever you call it. It's going to be getting hit with some heavy snow through this weekend. And it's more of this sort of westerly flow that's going to target Tobermory, Highway 28 around Owen Sound, Highway 400 around Perry Sound, and then Barrie will see it, Nadine, for Sunday. And, you know, if you drive along the 400 when we see whiteout conditions near Barrie, it is so busy there, you know, even on a Sunday early morning. So I would say, if people can avoid it, let's avoid it.
Yeah, and of course, the Santa Claus parade in Toronto goes on Sunday, so maybe some folks will be driving down with their kids, their families, to view the parade and to say hi to Santa. Well, we'll put in a wish right now, Santa, if they are coming down anytime between now and Sunday, safe travel for everyone if you will be out on the roads for whatever reason that you have to be. But we take it back to the radar imagery, and you can see, I'll zoom out here just to show you the wide shot and all of the Great Lakes region. It is littered with blue, indicating we've got snowfall across the region. But of course, the main concern here, really, the Lower Lakes region, simply because we have the longest fetch or the longest distance for the air to travel over the lakes to be able to grab that moisture and deposit it on the east side. We have that across Lake Erie. We have that across Lake Ontario. There are some other lakes as well that are seeing similar conditions. You can see there, if we head up just briefly across the eastern shores of Lake Superior, we are getting into some of that, essentially from Sault Ste. Marie for us up toward the Wawa region along Highway 17. So this area as well are also dealing with those squalls coming off the shores of Lake Superior there and depositing that snow. But let's take it back down into the Buffalo region. That is where our Mark Robinson is. Mark, you have been dealing with, you know, the heavy snowfall that continues to deposit. We've had 30 centimeters around Buffalo. We've had 50 centimeters in Hamburg, just to the south, where the most intense snow is right now.
Yeah, you know, Dean, as you were speaking, I heard a rumble. We're getting back into that extremely electrically active part of this snow squall. Between when we last talked, one good bolt, another one. This is one of the most unusual and extreme snow squalls I've ever been through. I have never seen lightning like this in any winter storm. I'm used to this kind of thing in July. I am not used to this in November, especially, you know, given that if you're just a little bit north, a couple of kilometers north, downtown Buffalo is not seeing that much snow. There's I saw a couple of the guys on air talking about the fact that they're in downtown Buffalo, saying there's not that much snow going on. We'll just come a little bit south down to Lackawanna, and this is the kind of situation you're dealing with. I mean, these are blizzard-like conditions. I mean, blizzards are very specific. There's a very specific criteria when we talk about blizzards. This one may get to that point, but I'm almost speechless with the amount of snow and how incredibly active this snow band is, and it's going to continue. One of the things I want to show you though is just get down here and do a little bit of shoveling, and you can see it's sticking to my shovel right here. The ground is still very warm, so a lot of the snow that's fallen has immediately melted. And when we get a cold air over top of this is all going to freeze up, and that could be a bigger problem for the cleanup after this snow's done.
All right, the cleanup. I mean, it is going to be ongoing. I love that Mark's already wearing the snow goggles. So the snow squalls continue for us. We'll get to that in a moment. But just going back to Buffalo, there was supposed to be a big NFL game there this weekend, but it has been relocated to Detroit because of this. And you've got to think, people were planning this. Maybe they traveled to Buffalo to go to it. So it's quite a big story there, and that's ongoing. If you are seeing red, that's where we're going to see some very tough travel for the next few days. Even in pink, your yellows, that's Toronto up towards Peterborough and Bancroft. You've got low impacts because this is going to be, a couple of centimeters or more at best. So let's take you through it here. Buffalo's going to start to be out of the snow as we head into the end of Saturday, but through Saturday it meanders up in towards Hamilton, Niagara, QEW, 401 corridor, Cobourg to Kingston. Watch out for that, and then watch out for ongoing squalls here through cottage country, and then Barrie. I'm concerned about the 400 near you as we look to Sunday morning. Now, snow and traction on the roads is very important. Let's hear more from Mark Robinson.
Traction. It's all about ground contact and the type of tires you've got on your vehicle. This has got steel tracks. This is the ultimate vehicle when it comes to keeping tires on the ground.
Traction is the force used to generate motion between a body and a tangential surface through the use of dry friction. Now, it's that last word that means everything. The resistance that one object encounters when moving over another. Think of the way a figure skater glides across the ice during one of their performances. The friction between the ice and the skate blades is low, and that allows them to glide effortlessly. Conversely, the friction that occurs when you strike a match is high, and without it, you'd have no fire.
For vehicles, traction is critical for both acceleration and deceleration. In other words, it's why you don't slam into the vehicle in front of you when you hit your brakes.
Tires are easily the most underrated safety feature on the vehicles. The most important factor in grip is not so much the tread design, but that softer rubber compound that will give grip to a winter tire when the temperatures are starting to drop below +7 degrees Celsius. Well, this summer all-season tire has a harder rubber compound. This tire is going to be on your vehicle in July and August. The asphalt can be, 60 degrees Celsius. So that rubber compound has to be hard enough that it won't wear out in 3,000 kilometers. So as the temperatures drop, it hardens up. It turns into a hockey puck by the time winter temperatures roll around.
Now, why don't we just keep winter tires on the entire year if they're that much better?
That's a good question. And the problem with that is that soft rubber compound that works well in -20, -30, -40 gets too soft when it gets into July and August. It'll actually get less grip. And on top of that, it's going to wear out faster.
Picking the correct type of tire is only half the battle. Human error is a catalyst for most collisions during any type of weather, which is why it's a good idea to practice and stay vigilant.
Keep going, yep, go. Keep going, go. Brake.
That would be my left. I've just killed us all.
Yeah, you did. With your hands at 3 and 9, that is all the steering input you need to do collision avoidance. However, if you stare at that pylon in the middle, and that's natural because that's the threat to you, you'll end up driving right at it because we steer with our eyes, not with our hands.
Now, if you need to leave the comfort of smooth asphalt or concrete, there's one more detail you should think about. And for that, I visited my friends at the Ontario Regiment Museum in Oshawa.
Well, the most important thing is ground pressure. If you're walking through deep snow, with shoes on, all your weight is on just a small amount of square inches. So you're really pushing a lot of pressure through the mud, the snow, whatever. If you are wearing snowshoes, your weight is distributed. So you are reducing your ground pressure, which is the amount of weight per square inch. Tracks distribute the weight. They can go on top of snow much better than, for instance, narrow wheels.
So then why don't all cars in Canada just switch to tracks?
Wheeled vehicles are a lot faster than track vehicles. But in mud and crud, wheeled vehicles will always be more of a challenge than tracked vehicles.
In 2018, just in Ontario, there were over 67,000 vehicles involved in collisions, so it's extremely important to be considerate of your car's traction, especially in slippery conditions.
Seeing those things always just makes my stomach turn. So yeah, you want traction. And during this events, you maybe also want a generator. So many things we need to put on the list of things to get covered during big events. And this is a big event, historic, epic. It is ongoing. Buffalo seeing possibly up to 4 feet of snow. We've got these watches and warnings from Environment Canada laid out for you. Those are the zones that are going to be hit with the most snow through this weekend, possibly 30 to 60 centimeters of it on the high end, maybe even more around, say, Wyerton and Owen Sound, which I think will be some of the areas that get the most in Ontario, and maybe even around Fort Erie. Now, if you're in Toronto, if you're in Oakville, if you're in Brampton, if you're in Newmarket, look at you, shaded in this light blue. A couple of centimeters at best coming for you Saturday into Sunday. So some flakes in the sky for the Santa Claus Parade happening at 12:30 in Toronto. So you're welcome for that. And then we take a look at Mount Forest and Fergus. 5 to 10 centimeters possibly there. Grimsby, also a high amount because of some oscillating bands that you're getting into. So let me get into those details. So what is hitting Buffalo right now is going to move towards Fort Erie, Niagara, St. Catharines, Grimsby along the QEW. This is taking you into Saturday evening. So that would be some key zones not to travel, even over towards Port Dover too, Caledonia. Then we look to the 401 corridor. Let's see what stands out. You've got Cobourg, Belleville towards Kingston. Some bursts of it through Saturday, but it will more so be Saturday evening, I think, into Sunday, when that 401 corridor is going to get slick, and we'll see those whiteouts continuing to be pretty bad. Then on this weekend, you've got, the Bruce Peninsula and Parry Sound getting in and out of it a lot through this, even South River to North Bay. But then as we get you into Sunday morning, Barrie now along the 401 is going to start to see a northwest flow set up there and get some of the lake effect too. So a lot of the typical zones, is going to see it at some point into the weekend. So, pick your timing properly when you're going to travel. If you don't need to travel, don't in these zones. We've Mark Robinson in Buffalo, where there's a travel ban in place, also around Erie County. And we can see why, Mark. You can hear the wind howling. It's just been nonstop, of course, since we checked in with you earlier.
Yeah, I don't know if you could hear, but there was another rumble of thunder, and just seeing this much lightning within these snow squall bands, it just gives you an idea of how powerful, how much energy is in this system. It is picking up all that moisture off of a very warm Lake Erie and essentially dumping it on shore. So I'm quite literally standing in Lake Erie water, except it's frozen Lake Erie water and it's airborne. That's all of what's going on. We've got our plow guy back here. It looks like my buddy is going to actually try and get him, give him a hand to try and get him out. And try to pull him out of there. We're not supposed to go anywhere. I have seen a couple of cars on the roads. I suggest that you don't do that because there actually is a travel ban in Erie County. Some people, though, they've got to get to places. If you are going to be driving around, and this is good advice for when the snow squalls begin to hit as you were talking about, Nicole, hit the 400. If they're starting to hit the QEW as we get into Saturday, make sure that you've got a winter survival kit in your car, which means throw in a shovel, throw in an extra, some extra winter gear, an extra set of boots, water, even some snacks. It will help if you do end up stuck, or if you do end up in an area where you just can't travel anywhere. That will make things that much better. And the one thing we always say is, if you do get into a situation where you're stuck, stay in the car. and run the car just for a little bit and then turn it off. You're going to have that carbon monoxide issue if you leave it on to try and keep yourself warm. If you turn it on for a few minutes, let everything warm up, and then turn it off, throughout the time period where you're stuck, that's going to make things a little easier. Also, make sure that you've got your cell phone well charged up, and so I thought I heard more thunder, but it was actually just my buddy here backing up to help out the plow operator. And if you've got your cell phone and people can identify where you are, you can call emergency services. But do keep in mind, if you're in this kind of situation, you are going to be stuck for quite a while until somebody can get to you and give you a hand out of the snow. And there we go. There's a little bit of lightning right there, waiting for the crack. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing how electrically active this snow squall band over top of Buffalo and Lackawanna actually is.
Well, we can see there are some folks behind you, Mark, coming out to give some assistance, because this is going to be quite a difficult, almost impossible drive. We've been talking about that all throughout the morning. And Fred, before I get to the radar, Fred from Facebook wants to know that if this is a preview of the kind of winter we are going to have. Well, Fred, I'm going to say to you that we will be releasing our winter forecast coming up on the 29th. That's a Tuesday. So be sure to stay tuned for that. We'll give you all the details. But we all know that once we get into late fall, which is where we are right now, and we still have warm waters of the lakes, and we've got the colder air beginning to creep in, that's where we get into the lake effect, which comes before the actual season. So let's get into the radar for us right now. I'm bringing this up because one of our viewers wanted to know what the snowfall totals in the Lake Erie has been so far. So unfortunately, around Lake Erie, we don't actually have a station that reports within that region. Can't remember the viewer's name right now, but let's just take you back to the radar from last night where you had snow rolling through. Now you can see there from around 7:30 or so, we had that band that rolled through, and it was quite intense for a bit, for a couple of hours before it pulled back to the south toward the Buffalo region through the overnight period. So Buffalo through the overnight picked up about 22 centimeters of snowfall, and they have increased that total. And with that intense band that rolled through, I think it's safe to say that around Fort Erie, we probably picked up between 10 and 15 centimeters of snowfall. And we also had, you can see there just within the region last night, we had some flashes of lightning. And that's, of course, what Mark experienced with his thunder snow out tracking that snowfall there. So let's just take you now to the last couple of hours. This is the last hour or so, and we'll zoom out where we are seeing that snowfall for us. So again, the main band is moving into the eastern shores of Lake Erie. That's where we have the heaviest of the totals, but we're also seeing some of that snowfall for us right now in and around Highway 8, the 401, so areas like Kitchener, Waterloo, Brantford, some light snowfall heading up toward Listowel, and of course the main one for us, Port Elgin, picking up some of that snowfall. This has been ongoing, Nicole, for the last couple of hours through the morning. This is where we have been seeing our accumulations really pile on since the last few hours for us, and this is going to continue to be an issue as we continue through today.
Exactly. And, I would think, Port Elgin, Owen Sound, Wyerton, you're going to come out with some of the biggest totals just based on the way the winds are setting up. They're not really leaving your area. It's, like the guest that doesn't want to leave. And then you've got the Niagara area marked in red here, Kingston, over towards Parry Sound and Owen Sound. Red and pink, these are some areas that will see dangerous travel. Let's take a look at, some of the tweets. This is Snyder Fire Department in New York. So they just cleared an accident on the I-290. You can see, this is Buffalo where we've seen Mark Robinson in it. It is just a wall of snow. We take you to Hamburg here. This is what lake effect snow looks like. It's that really fluffy, kind of moist, chunky snow that we get because you have the moisture in it, courtesy of the Great Lakes, the wind moving over it as well. But also here in Ontario, in Bayfield, just a few good cracks of lightning here. So we've seen the thunder snow not only in Buffalo, but on this side of the border as well. we'll come in with the totals here and how much we're projecting. Good, 40 to 70 centimeters in areas around Owen Sound. Like I said, maybe some of the hardest hit regions. Parry Sound to Bracebridge, though, 30 to 60 centimeters of it. And then we take you to Niagara, where you've got a good amount coming to, as well as Kingston. Now let's zoom in on, Toronto here, Pickering and Newmarket, where into Sunday, really Saturday into Sunday, could see a couple of centimeters of snow. I mean, such a difference than when you travel towards the lake effect bands. Go into Fergus, Mount Forest, you're going to see maybe up to 5 to 10 centimeters there. But where Mark Robinson is, I mean, it's been 5 centimeters per hour hitting the region. And we're seeing, this car. What are they trying to do, Mark? Trying to get out?
Yeah, if you can believe it, the plow is stuck. He's been trying to keep up with the amount of snow falling in this parking lot. He's got a bunch of other properties to do. So my friend Francis here is actually trying to get them out. Now he's got the cable there just in case anything happens. I'm going to step back a little bit and just give them a bit of room, because getting this truck out of here is not going to be easy. Yeah, you can see there's not a lot of room to try and pull in the direction you need to pull to get the vehicle out. This story is probably being repeated in multiple spots in and around just south of Buffalo in the Lackawanna area, just because the amount of snow coming down is just burying everything. It's heavy, wet snow, so difficult to move, difficult to plow, really, really easy to get stuck in. And I think that's going to be the big problem, and it's going to go on and on and on. I mean, this is just we're probably potentially maybe halfway through this, and so we're going to see meters. We're talking about snowfall in in meters, and I keep breathing in the snow. It is just an unbelievable situation here in Buffalo, and it is going to paralyze the city for quite a while.
Oof, you're right. I mean, I know we don't use feet here, but I think feet in this case is a good way to kind of have an idea of how much could fall in Buffalo. And we're talking up to 4 feet of snow. I mean, that would come up to here on me. It's crazy. So I just want to reiterate this forecast again. What's happening for Toronto, Oakville, Milton, over towards Oshawa, even Peterborough, couple of centimeters into your weekend. So, this could be some slushy snow on the roads. This is not, where we're getting the crazy snow squalls. Go over towards Fergus, Listowel, couple more centimeters there, so some heavier impacts. But if you're going to travel to areas that have snow squall watches and warnings in place, you're going to watch for the bursts of heavy snow and strong winds, the quickly reduced visibility, and the chain reaction accidents that are possible, which we have seen time and time again because of lake effect snow. Videos of cars piled up on the highway and sitting there for hours upon hours. So the setup for snow squalls into today is going to hit areas around Midland to Parry Sound. Look at the 401 there under that blue band, Bruce Peninsula too. And then this will continue to oscillate north through the weekend. So even starting to clip North Bay there. And then we get you into Sunday, and notice Midland and Barrie covered in blue, as well as Orillia and Bracebridge too. So it'll be Sunday where we're worried about the 401 near Barrie getting the target zone there. And then we take a look at the 401, talking about Cobourg in towards Belleville and Brockville too, where we're going to see this Saturday into Sunday. But we can't forget about Buffalo. It's going to start to wane as we get into Saturday late day, but that shifts north, folks. So we're talking Niagara Falls over towards St. Catharines, even clipping Hamilton to Nadine. So it's going to be interesting to watch this continue to unfold.
Yeah, there's so many points to touch on with this event. And an important one here for us coming from Dina on YouTube. She says, she's reminding us to check on the elderly and your neighbors in the areas where we are seeing some of this heavy snowfall. So if you do know that there are elderly within your community and you're in one of these regions that's getting heavy squalls, check on them, make sure that they are okay. But let's take you back to the radar imagery here for us. And Bobcat B on YouTube, he's actually saying that, you know, it's going to be a fun drive to Parry this evening and tonight. And I'll show you the radar before we sort of give you a breakdown of your drive heading up toward Parry Sound, Bob. And you'll see there this band that we've been seeing just sitting along the highway, along Highway 21 for us from Kincardine up toward the Bruce Peninsula region. And that has been extending over toward Midland for us between Bracebridge and Aurelia. And this no doubt will be continuing to bring us some significant accumulations like Nicole was showing there. Now, Bobcat, just want to give you a little bit of a heads up for your drive. We've been talking about it all morning long. So Bob is probably heading out this evening. You can see there from around Midland heading up to 400. During the times here this evening, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, notice that band continuing to meander north and extend all the way up the 400 toward the Parry Sound region for us. And this takes us into tomorrow morning. So there you can see we are getting hit hard in and around Parry Sound, taking us into tomorrow morning. So Bobcat, if you are heading out onto the roads, drive safely. Something that Mark had also touched on as well, because, you know, within these bands, it will be almost blizzard-like conditions for us. And this is the 444 rule that Mark had alluded to before. This is the criteria for it. We've got wind sustained at 40 kilometers per hour or greater, visibility down to 400 meters. And certainly we may perhaps meet that criteria in these heavier bands, and these conditions persisting for 4 or more hours. So it's not necessarily a case where you have heavy snowfall, but visibility is an important criteria, as well as the time frame for us and those winds, which of course will be whipping the snow around. And in terms of the ingredients for that lake effect, we've got that temperature difference. The temperature of the lakes right now is, say, between 10 and 14 degrees Celsius. And we've got that wind alignment and, of course, the fetch over the long lakes, the lower Great Lakes region. And that is certainly going to be the case continuing for us for the remainder of today, and then heading into, you know, the weekend, Nicole. And of course, those bands will continue to meander. Hence, you know, those areas shifting where we see some of the heavier bands move a little bit to the north, or maybe a little bit to the south as well.
Exactly. So this is all very wind dependent in terms of how you're going to get hit. We always say it's like real estate, location, location, location is going to matter with this. Environment Canada has this light sort of purple color, blue as well as yellow for your warnings, your travel advisories as we head into the next few days. So keep in mind, these are the zones that are going to get hit the hardest, where you might want to avoid travel. So taking you through the timing here, let's get you into Saturday, and we're going to see Parry Sound around the 400 being impacted, Bruce Peninsula, Owen Sound, and then over towards Kingston along the 401. And while Buffalo is going to wrap up through the end of the day on Saturday, we're going to start to see the fringes of this move north towards even Hamilton as well. And then on Sunday, we're going to get into it around Barrie. So just want to point that out along the 401. A very, popular travel route for people into the weekend with lots going on. People trying to get ahead of their winter or Christmas shopping, perhaps holiday shopping going on this weekend. Lots of events too. So we could be possibly seeing 40 to 70 centimeters around Wyerton, as well as Owen Sound, maybe one of the hardest hit areas. Then you have Parry Sound to Bracebridge, a high amount there. Cobourg to Kingston, good 15 to 30 centimeters. Niagara, same thing, down towards Fort Erie, 15 to 30 plus for Buffalo. Now, as we take a look at places like Toronto, a couple of centimeters at best. I do want to point out for Niagara, St. Catharines along the 401 corridor there, even into Grimsby and Dunnville, watch out for Saturday for things to start to fill in for you. So that's the whiteout conditions that can just kind of hit you really quickly with lake effect bands. Through Saturday late day into Sunday, we've got Belleville, Cobourg, 401 towards Kingston. This zone seems to happen a lot along the 401 corridor here. You get pileups when you get the lake effect bands hitting this region. And then we have this traditional snowbelt area topping up the ski hills, but we've got some major routes impacted through the weekend as well. And Nadine, speaking of the weekend, we do have the Santa Claus parade happening in Toronto Sunday afternoon. It's going to be a high of -2. And it's just going to be a couple of centimeters at best, some flakes in the sky. So this is certainly going to set the scene. But boy, what a difference if you just continue to travel down towards, say, St. Catharines.
Yeah, we are not within that zone where all of the parameters and the ingredients are lining up nicely for lake effect, but not necessarily for anyone who has to be out on the roads. So we'll take you to the radar imagery here. And of course, we see here some of the main regions. We've got one here for us around, say, southern Georgian Bay, Lake Huron region. We've got, of course, our Buffalo zone. And you can see just clipping Prince Edward County, picking up on a heavier band there, just coming off of Lake Ontario. But not to forget as well, you can see here just to southwestern Ontario, we have been seeing some light snowfall across the region. So for folks who are heading west from Toronto towards, say, Kitchener-Waterloo down toward London, there is some light snowfall across that region there. And you can see even through southwestern Ontario towards, say, the Sarnia region, picking up on some light snowfall. But again, our focus will continue to be the areas just coming off the eastern shores of the lakes. One of the main reasons for this, of course, we've got that wind for us coming out of the southwest. And when it's coming out of the southwest, you can see that's when the lower lakes, Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, the areas to the east side really pick up on that lake effect band for us. And you can see it is quite extensive for us, just stateside on the eastern shores of Lake Ontario. And then again, Buffalo, Fort Erie really being the bullseye for some of those heavier snowfall intensities. And in through southern Ontario, this has been a region that has been really picking up on the accumulations for the last few hours. And you'll see there for us from Kincardine up toward Port Elgin. This has been ongoing since early this morning from last night. We head across Highway 26. I would, hazard a guess, Nicole, that travel within this region is almost impossible right now.
Looking like Buffalo. I mean, what we're seeing with Mark Robinson in Buffalo, who's been on the show all morning, is just that whiteout, the squalls, cars stuck. We are going to get certainly some areas in Ontario seeing that as the squalls continue into the weekend. But taking you to social media here, Snyder firefighters just cleared an accident on the I-290. Quite a beautiful picture, but also paints the scene of the lake effect snow engine going on there in New York. And then we also keep you in Buffalo, in Hamburg here, where you can see the pile already so high, and this is going to just keep getting higher. Last night, Mark Robinson captured thundersnow in Buffalo, but also in Bayfield, Ontario. Cracks of lightning here too. So quite an event occurring as we speak. This is going to be something we'll be talking about years later because it is quite a specific, special setup. Not going to be special for places like Toronto or Newmarket or Orangeville because this is not going to hit you hard. We're talking a couple of centimeters Saturday into your Sunday, reaching Hamilton towards Fergus and Mount Forest. This is 5 to 10 centimeters, but nowhere near the problems that we're going to see on some of the other major routes. And just a summary here. Why is lake effect snow so bad? Well, if you've ever been caught in it, you know that it's the bursts of heavy snow and strong winds that can reduce the visibility and can trigger chain reaction accidents. And this is so important because it's not like we've seen that happen once with lake effect. We've seen it happen multiple times on major routes because it's just people are going quite quickly maybe on the highway and you get that wall of snow that can cause the chain reaction accident. So some key areas to avoid would be the 401 around Parry Sound. This is in through Friday afternoon. This is 11 p.m. And you can see the Bruce Peninsula, Owen Sound, Wyerton, getting hammered with snow ongoing as those westerly winds shift to a bit of a southwest flow. And then on Sunday, Barrie and Midland and still Owen Sound into the squalls there. The timing of it as we go down towards Belleville, Kingston, and Brockville, this is along the 401. So, in and out of these squalls through Saturday into Sunday, and particularly Saturday late day through Sunday, we're going to see the reduced visibility on this highway here. So just keep that in mind. Prince Edward County, so many people go there on the weekend. It's so beautiful. It's not going to be beautiful on the highway along the 401. Let's just put that out there. And then, Buffalo by the end of Saturday is going to be in the clear of the squalls, but then it's going to be cleanup mode, of course. But we're going to watch, Buffalo share the wealth as this starts to shift north into Niagara, as well as St. Catharines, and even on the fringe of Hamilton. Let's go to Mark Robinson in Buffalo, New York, since last night, and he's been seeing people, the crews that are trying to clean up the snow in just a parking lot get stuck.
Yeah, I want to take you back over here to our plow operator. We're slowly getting him out of here, but you can see just a tremendous amount of snow between him and just almost this clear area. If he can get back to here, he can start to sort of try and clear this part out. I have seen some of the big front end loaders, some of the very large plows out on the street. If you can believe it, there's actually a main street somewhere out there, and getting from here to there is basically impossible at this point for anybody here at the hotel. There are a few people here, not quite as many, because the Bills game actually moved from Buffalo down to Detroit. So a lot of annoyed people from Buffalo, a lot of locals that are a little bit annoyed about that. But if you're trying to play a game in this, it's not happening. So best thing to do is go down there. So not as many people in the hotel, but anybody that is here, we're kind of going to be here for quite a while, even maybe to Saturday, until this snow squall begins to lift and they can start the cleanup. And this cleanup is going to take a while.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mark. Yeah, that's going to be an ongoing story for them. But of course, we have our own component here at home. And I'll show you here just what we can expect over the next couple of hours heading into this afternoon. A couple of spots that will be dealing with those winds over the lakes. So we've been focusing a lot on the lower lakes region because that's where we have the longest fetch. But there are still a couple of other areas. You can see there from Sault Ste. Marie heading up toward Wawa. That region there along Highway 17 will be getting into squalls as well. This region here north of, Kincardine region, heading up around the Bruce Peninsula, that extending over towards southern Georgian Bay, that's going to be another focus as well through the next few hours. At the bottom end of Lake Erie, or at least the eastern end of Lake Erie toward Fort Erie, where Buffalo will be into it. And of course, just clipping by Prince Edward County around the Highway 401, some flurries are possible within that region there. So just want to show you, let's zoom in here a bit if you've got travel plans over the next couple of hours and you're wondering what conditions will be like for you. So let's take this through. We're after 9 now, so let's take this through the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock hour. We're still dealing with it. Top end of Highway 21, Highway 26. You can see almost getting to a Barrie area there. And then for anyone who's doing any traveling, heading out through parts of Eastern Ontario through the afternoon, Prince Edward County getting into it. Most of it is stateside, but along the 401, we may still pick up on a few of those flurries as we head through the afternoon and into the evening. And start to notice now a little bit of a shift in our wind as we head through this evening. So we start to see some of those bands beginning to meander and push a little bit north now, north of Midland, heading up toward the Parry Sound region. So Nicole, anyone heading out through the next few hours into this afternoon in those regions, drive carefully. That's what we want to encourage everyone to do.
Yeah, you're right. People who live in the area are used to this to some degree. But I would say, because the band is going to be so persistent, it's just going to be the snowfall rates that are higher than normal. We do have the watches and warnings from Environment Canada laid out for you in this sort of light mauve color, I would say. The blue as well as the yellow is our weather. The blue is also a warning and a travel advisory in our yellows. So these are zones that you're going to want to avoid over the next few days, because it's not just going to be that, the snow's falling. If the snow stops falling, you're still going to have the highway covered in snow and the winds that could whip it around too. So some key zones to keep in mind, as Nadine was pointing out, we get you into Saturday now. We're still around Parry Sound. We're going to see a good, healthy setup with the lake effect snow in that southwest flow. And then Kingston still into it along the 401. We've got that zone to consider, and Buffalo's going to wrap up through Saturday, but that's going to meander into Hamilton even, as well as Grimsby, St. Catharines, Niagara. Certainly Niagara Falls is a really popular place for people to go on a Saturday and into Sunday. Probably not looking so good this weekend. Now, as we take a look here, taking in the colors, this is a good way to see who's going to see the most. On the scale here, you've got the light blue, the purple, seeing our highest amounts, and then you go down towards Buffalo. They could see 50 to 70 centimeters of snow, but some projections are saying maybe up to 120. So it's 4 feet. 4 feet of snow. And then towards Kingston, 15 to 30 centimeters of snow and locally higher amounts. And that's always the case with a lake effect snow. Locally, you could see higher amounts, because if you get right under a wind band that sets you up with the snow, you could be in for some trouble. So Saturday evening, here it is, the projection between Fort Erie up towards Grimsby along the QEW, even here towards Caledonia, Dunnville. I would maybe stay away from that zone. Along the 401, keep this in mind. Yeah, people are going to be traveling it. They will be traveling it. And you might be traveling on Saturday and think, hasn't even started yet. And then all of a sudden, late day Saturday through Sunday, it's going to start to meander in through the area. And then the last zone to consider, of course, we've got our cottage country here, the typical routes. In Barrie, we're going to see this on Sunday. Come back into the picture for you. So just heads up for travel. And speaking of travel, no one's really traveling in Buffalo. There's a travel ban in place where we find Mark Robinson. He's in a parking lot staying safe, but the plows, Mark, having trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually see. Whoa! This is the most he's moved. Okay, I'm gonna back up a little bit because he's gonna take a run at it. We were able to get him out a little bit. This is like a multi-person operation trying to get him out of here. And once he gets out, he can probably get back into plowing. But it has been like the amount of snow that's falling. I mean, when the plows are getting stuck, you know you're into a situation. Lots of people helping out. This is what I always love to see, that when you get into natural disasters like this, look for the helpers. Look for the people that are giving a hand and getting out here just to try and get them out. This story probably playing out all over Buffalo. The one thing, though, I can say is a lot of the main roads, I've seen a couple of cars traveling along here. You're not supposed to, and trying to keep people off the roads, but it does, those few cars that have gone by does tell me that the city and state people are keeping some of the roads clear. My guess is a lot of the side roads are not clear. I'm going to actually move out of the way right now because we got a cable. They're going to give them a pull. So fingers crossed they can get out. Here we go. Yeah. This is the problem. Trying to get it out here, you get into situations where you can't quite pull the way you want to. Just if we could just pull it straight out, it wouldn't be too bad. But just given the way everything's oriented, you can't. So these are the kind of problems that you run into, and it can take a very long time to just travel it looks to be about 2 meters. 2 meters, and we've been working, everyone's been working on this for probably an hour and a half to try and get him out, so that, again, he can actually plow out and get everybody else out. Are any small car trying to going through this? Good luck. You're not going anywhere, and neither am I for quite a while.
Well, it looks like you are stuck there. Hunker down, stay safe. I hope you have lots of snacks, Mark, because
I got a few.
That's going to be quite the adventure for you. So let's take it back here. We've been talking about this lake effect. Want to touch on some of the ingredients and what we have. We have that temperature difference. Now, the lakes are about, say, 10 to 14 degrees above the freezing mark. You go aloft, say, about between 1 kilometer to 3 kilometers above, and the temperature is around, say, -10 and lower 4. So that's a huge spread in terms of our temperature. So that's perfect. We check that out. We've got our wind direction and alignment, and we also have our fetch. much. So let's take you to the radar imagery here. And one of the reasons why the Buffalo region really has been on the receiving end of the most intense accumulations for us has been, you know, that fetch. And you see there, it extends all the way from the west end of Lake Erie, all the way to the east end. And that distance is almost 400 kilometers for us. So that is quite a distance for the wind to travel to be able to grab that moisture where it already has that temperature difference in place. And we have the alignment of those winds from the surface just heading up a kilometer or two for that region. And we also see that as well through Lake Ontario. Now, if we head up around the central lakes for us, so coming off of Lake Huron, we're also seeing some continuous snowfall within that region, and this has been ongoing for us since the last few hours. And we can see that extends all the way across, say, the eastern shores of Huron and into the southern Georgian Bay region. And this is going to continue for us for the next couple of hours. So I want to address the one question or thought that came into us from Facebook. Michael is saying that it hasn't been snowing in Wasaga since yesterday evening, but his current weather keeps saying that it is snowing there, and he's not sure why. So let's take you to the radar and let's see if we can address this concern here. So around southern Georgian Bay region, so yeah, just around that area, Wasaga, you can see you're definitely not getting that snowfall there right now. But sometimes what happens is that if we do have instruments that are within the region and you've got snowfall in adjacent areas, a lot of the times when you do get wind, that wind can blow that snow from one area to another, and it can perhaps detect that there is snowfall happening, and it's perhaps an automated station, so it may perhaps detect that, and that can give you a false reading. So maybe that is a case where that is happening, but certainly we can see ground truth here for us in Wasaga. It is not snowing, it is to the north. That edge is just coming down toward you, so perhaps it is detecting that edge of snowfall just within proximity, but not necessarily exactly where you are. So Nicole, it's a lot of factors that go into weather.
It definitely is. There's a lot at play. And so it's so interesting with lake effect snow because it's wind dependent. And if you get stuck under a band, you could get hit with so much. But if it just moves a little bit, then you've got, a city that's just a 10-minute drive that, could be hammered again. And then the town up north, 10 minutes, sees nothing. But we've laid this out for you. Look at the colors. Look at the reds and the pinks. That's where we're going to see the biggest lake effect impacts over the next few days. But if you're in orange or yellow for that matter, this is a lower risk for sure. Now, captured this on Twitter. It might be hard to read, but this tweet said that they are in Stony Creek and they haven't gotten much. They've only heard stuff going on in Buffalo and Fort Erie. And again, so with lake effect snow, yes, Buffalo's being hit right now, but we're going to get you into the next few days, the next few hours even, and then some other zones will start to get hammered. So watch this play out here. You can see through Friday afternoon, ongoing snow around the Bruce Peninsula, into Parry Sound as well. Now we get into areas near Stony Creek, Hamilton, Niagara Falls, that QEW starting to see the evidence of what's going on in Buffalo. Not the exact same impacts in Hamilton as Niagara Falls because there's that really tight gradient with the lake effect snow occurring. Then 401 towards Kingston, that'll be Saturday into your Sunday. The squalls do return towards Barrie and Midland as we look to your Sunday morning. And just quickly for Toronto, maybe a dusting of snow, a couple centimeters as we look to Sunday, which is Santa Claus Parade. So that's going to set the scene. What's setting the scene of the real impacts with this event is Mark Robinson in Buffalo, New York. And Mark, I mean, boy, this is one for the history books, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the one you can compare it to is the 2014 lake effect event, right in this same area. I believe at the end of that one, there was 8 feet of snow in some areas. that's kind of what we're looking at here, but we're probably not going to beat that event. It's probably going to still be measured in feet or in meters. We're no longer measuring in centimeters or inches. I mean, we're using the big scale for this one. The wind, especially along the edges of the squall, very strong, blowing these into drifts. And, you know, that's one of the big problems. When you have whiteout conditions like this, you may not be able to see those drifts before you're into it. And once you are into it, you may be stuck there for a very, very long time. We have a plow guy who has been, trying to get out, but everybody's been working away trying to get him out of this little spot. I mean, we're talking a distance of maybe 3 meters, and we've been working for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours to try and get him out of there. Lots of people, lots of other cars trying to pull and get him out of there. If we can get back to the main roads, even though there is a travel ban, plows allowed to move around, he's going to be okay, because the state and city authorities been really working hard to try and keep those main thoroughfares open. We have seen a few cars passing by at a fairly good rate of speed, which means that those roads are clear. The big problem with this is it's clear now, but how long is it going to stay clear? And it only takes a few tens of centimeters to cause an issue, to the point that you can't, if you get stuck, now you're done, and that clogs it up a little more. Plows can't get through. This is the ongoing situation here in Buffalo, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. And of course, Canada's next in line for the squall as it begins to push north.
Yep, wow, that wind behind you, it is just whipping. That is definitely a cold wind. Thank you so much, Mark. Run into the car and try and stay warm for a bit. Want to just bring you quickly to our snowfall accumulation for us. You can see we've picked up about 6-7 centimeters of snowfall for us in and around the southern Niagara region for us. So yeah, just dealing with some tech issues here. Yep, so we've got in the Fort Erie region some estimates here between say 6 and 9 centimeters of snowfall. So of course, this is just giving you an idea where the most intense snow has been, in addition to where we have only seen, lighter accumulations, Nicole, just in and around the Niagara region. But of course, that will change as we progress into the next few hours, I guess, into tomorrow, I should say.
Exactly. And, speaking of lighter accumulations, I need to address this. If you're watching us in the Greater Toronto area, how much are you seeing? So let's look at this, what happens through to Sunday here. It's really Saturday into Sunday morning. We're going to see a couple of centimeters, maybe even reach the city of Toronto, certainly around Newmarket, Oakville as well. Get into Fergus, Mount Forest, maybe 5 to 10 centimeters. So yes, you're going to see snow this weekend, but this is not the crippling lake effect snow that we're getting in the other zones. And why is lake effect snow so bad? Why do you want to stay in that, bubble of Toronto? Well, it's the bursts of heavy snow and strong winds, the quickly reduced visibility, and that chain reaction of accidents that we have seen happen time and time again with lake effect snow on major highways like the 401. You get people stuck on the highway because it's just that bottleneck effect that starts to occur. And then we take a look here for Friday. Where would I say you don't want to be traveling? I would say the 400 around Parry Sound between Midland, and then also the Bruce Peninsula around Owen Sound and Wyerton. That's definitely going to be a zone that's going to see ongoing lake effect snow through this entire weekend. And then we take a look at Barrie here. Highlighting that through Sunday, that's when we're going to start to see you get into it again. So that 401, the 400 stretch, I keep saying 401, 400, can't keep it straight. Yeah, the 400 around Barrie Sunday morning, I would say, is going to start to see some, visibility reduced on the roadways. Here's where visibility will reduce on the 401. It is going to be Belleville towards Kingston into Brockville. This will be Saturday at times, but more so Saturday late day into Sunday morning. It's going to continue to hit that zone. So if you want to travel home, on Sunday, wait it out until later in the day. If you're maybe in Prince Edward County, Taking a look at Buffalo, that's going to wrap up. The snow will wrap up, but of course, it's going to leave behind a huge mess. But we are going to see Buffalo sharing in the snow wealth as this shifts north into Niagara, in towards Beamsville, St. Catharines, for example, into your Saturday. Now we have Mark Robinson in Buffalo, where he has been trying to help the crews clean up, and they're not going anywhere.
No, and they're working on trying. They're actually now using chains, shorten everything up a little bit, and be able to have a bit of a run at getting them out here. We've packed the snow down a bit. We're just hooking everything up and just trying to pull out. And as I said, this is the plows. Like this is the plow guy who actually has to try and get the rest of this clear. So he's having trouble getting out. Imagine what it's going to be like just trying, if you've got a small car, to try and move around. And the last big event in 2014 when I was down here, I was there the day after, and there were people shoveling to the point, they literally could not get their cars out because the cars were buried under so much snow. The plows would come by on the streets, and oh, here we go. Oh, wow. The plows would come by on the streets trying to clear the streets out, dump it on the driveway, and of course then they've got to dig out that much more. We're going to try and get them out. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get everybody out here and let the cleanup begin. But it's not over, not even close.
Oh, and you can see why there is a travel ban in place for Buffalo, for Erie County as well. I mean, they're in a parking lot. They can't even get anywhere. We'll continue our Storm Center coverage here on the Weather Network coming up.